Hello and welcome to Good Things. On this week's show, we're going to be doing our final list of the best horror movies from the 2010s. So hey, welcome to the show. Yep, this is like the second time I recorded the intro because I forgot to arm the mic first time, so it's not as peppy. It's got
it's
a little...
like, I think it's like when Michael Scott, they used to do the practice run with these answering phones. So that's all his idiocy out of the way in the first one.
It's what I was also trying to speak a little bit slower because I realised that people might think that we speak too fast.
I don't think so.
I don't know. Well, it seems most people that are listening are from America, which American people don't seem to have any difficulty with the Irish accent because they're a superior race.
Yes.
That sounded...
That sounded very Aryan or something, didn't it?
Yeah, I think it's just because like a lot of the American accents are foreign from the Irish accent, so it's Irish and Dutch, isn't it? Or like some of the first settlers over in New York.
I suppose, yeah. And English, obviously.
So we just get straight into it because, being quite honest, kind of like, not that it's going to influence how we're going to do our lists or anything like that, but the fourth week of doing lists, I'm a bit sick of it. I don't know how fucking Watch Mojo keep doing their top. It's just, the problem with doing this, I think, on podcasts and stuff, when you're doing it the whole time, it ends up turning into a bit of a... not a chore, but kind of a chore, where you're just trying to go through like, number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
You're not given enough time to rattle on about if you want to rattle on about a particular favourite of yours, but there's like 9 other films you have to mention.
Whereas I think podcasts are a good vehicle or a good medium for talking about long form discussion about, say, maybe one film or like one part of a film.
Yes. One part? Yeah. Oh my God, how boring do you want to get?
Well, that's, some YouTubers. It's like Warhammer lore YouTubers. Well, actually, no, I suppose that's a bit unfair. Some YouTubers have a bit of a reputation for, like, say, doing 5-hour videos talking about movies and things.
Massive deep dive.
Yeah, but like some of them do, I suppose, but most of them are kind of constructed fairly well. And like with the Warhammer lore things, you got people like Wes Hammer and is it One World Syndicate or maybe Old World Syndicate? I can't remember.
Why are you talking about YouTubers who do Warhammer on a
I don't know. I suppose this is how you fill things. But I was just saying, I think long form is better suited for podcasts.
Yes, well, that's good. Why did you decide to do the list then?
Because I was trying to do something that'll help us kind of get more listeners over Halloween.
This is not going
and I don't think it works.
No, of course it doesn't.
Yeah, we don't even like horror movies. Most nights we sit down just looking at Disney Plus going, hey, will we put on Moana for the 5th time?
And romance films.
Yeah.
That's our other favourite.
Yeah. But look, so we get to start. You can do your number 10.
Okay, I'll go with number 10. And
take it off as it's going, because we get confused otherwise.
Yes, boss. All right, yes, sir. Jesus. So
but I get confused.
I snuck The Woman in Black in there. As my number 10. So it's Daniel Radcliffe, obviously, and he's playing this young lawyer who was assigned to go and check out this old house who was more or less cut off by the incoming tide. So it's got this old horror vibe to it.
I think it was one of the first ones that the new reincarnation of I was going to say Warhammer, Hammer House horror movies. Did, and as well, I think it was one of Daniel Radcliffe's first films since Harry Potter. He did like plays like that Equus, because remember, I don't know, I think he gets naked in it or something, and that's all that, like, it was like, oh my God, Harry Potter gets his cock out. Look at my wand. And fucks a horse.
But yes. He doesn't.
I don't think he does anyway. I don't know. Maybe he does.
But he's in this one, and I think he plays it fairly well, and it really kind of harkens back to the kind of the 70s haunted house horrors, and
it's very
the
gothic.
old English gentleman, and it's all very period and all the rest. And I don't normally like those kind of films, but I really enjoyed this one.
It's a ghosty story.
Yeah,
it's very like, is it M.I. or M.L. James Did you
So,
know,
yeah.
like Whistling, I'll come to you. Like, I think we talked about it before. It must do with maybe coming up towards Christmas, but like, I mean, there's that old tradition of horror movies and ghost stories around
Yeah, for
Christmas.
Christmas, yeah.
So, like,
Yeah, this actually would
Scrooge,
be a very good kind of a
MacDuck.
Christmas. Yes.
well, you know, the ghosts of Christmas past and
Yeah.
all that shit.
But this is just one of these real lonesome sort of haunted house, and as I said, it's that extra bit sinister because it reminds me a bit of sort of Enid Blyton and Famous Fivey type stuff as well, because there's all this
Yeah.
like, oh, there's a causeway out to the house and it gets covered by the incoming tide, and like she was all about like smuggler tunnels and all that kind of stuff.
Because I can remember it, but I can't remember it extensively. And from what I can remember, one of the things that was like the nice twist on the ghost story, because normally in ghost stories it's like, oh, the ghost is the victim, and whereas like no, the lady in black is like evil.
Yes, she's the bad guy in it.
Yeah,
really.
and there's a horrible ending to it. We saw the sequel to it as well, didn't we?
Did we?
Which I think the sequel is quite good to it.
But yeah, no, and it was just nicely shot. It was nicely costumed, nicely eerie. Sort of the set was spectacular, and just the whole vibe to it was just a proper
It was very
old
good.
gothic horror, as I said. Yeah,
I think it might be based on a play of it, and maybe the play might be like based on a book. I can't remember, but I think there was
Push by the novel,
yeah.
Precious
Yeah.
Sapphire, whatever that was. Yes,
But there was it might have been The Lady in White, maybe. It was an old ITV horror movie.
excuse me.
In the 80s, I think, maybe the 90s, and that was kind of quite scary.
But yes, it's nicely scary, and a few genuine sort of like, oh god, there's a ghost in the window type thing, you know. Got nice creepy vibes to it. So
It was
yeah,
a really
did
good start for Hammer coming back, is from what I can remember, but I don't think they really capitalised on it. Well, it's hard to make movies, and especially for a small studio. They do the remake and Let the Right One In as well, I think.
There was definitely a remake of them.
Let Me In had
Yes.
Chloe Moretz.
Yes, but I don't know if it was from
Freddie
horror.
Prinze Jr. in it, which was a really good remake. I think that would have been 2010's. We were talking about Let the Right One In was high up
Yes.
on our
Well,
thing,
that's why I
and the
didn't
remake
have
was
this one.
surprisingly
Yeah, there's
good.
been a
like.
few sort of remakes or sequels to films that we've already spoken about that I kind of went, okay, I'm not adding them to the list because they're just kind of continuing on the same vein. Not that horror lists are not continuing on the same vein
Yeah.
anyway, but I just thought I'd try and hit a few different
But yeah,
ones.
no, that's a good one. My number 10. Only for we looked at it last night, I think it probably would have been higher up the list. But rewatching it after a few years, it was like, but it's The Witch. Obviously, still think it's really good. It's in the top 10. But it's for the time. I think it kickstarted a lot of what I hate the term elevated horror.
Yeah.
But it kind of got back into, I suppose, that there was high production value more in horror. That there was like that A24 studio really dived into kind of like giving people like Robert Eggers a chance to make the kind of horror movies that they wanted to make. I suppose like auteurs. So I think it's nearly a throwback to the 70s.
Took it
with
away
like
from
the,
sort of maybe sort of the big gory bombastic slashers and stuff like that.
and
in the
mainstream
20s,
horror movies, like, you know, the thing is where it's getting a chance to tell stories that mightn't necessarily be told.
Yeah, and
So like The Witch, I think it's put down as like a medieval fantasy horror story or fairy tale
That
or
makes
something
it
like
sound
that.
fucking stupid,
But it's like puritanical America, people after coming over from England, the guy and his family, they
trying to make a life for
they
themselves.
get kicked out of the village because he's too puritanical even for the Puritans, and they encounter a witch.
Yeah, they're
and
trying to
shit starts
scratch out and
happening to
living
him,
on this fucking tiny little farm in the middle of nowhere, totally isolated. And,
It's all about pride, really, and as well, I suppose there's a big feminist aspect
religiosity
to it.
as
Yeah,
well, obviously. Yeah.
where it's like the oldest daughter played by, oh God, what's her name? Probably always good Princess Peach, and she played Furiosa in it. Anna Taylor-Joy. She's brilliant in it.
Yeah.
But like she is just from the get-go, the family treat her like dirt. She's
Scapegoat.
basically a slave to him, and I suppose it's like playing up the notion, is there a witch out there for a while? And then it kind of goes, like, spoilers for any, like, there's spoilers and everything here. Then it goes, yeah, there fucking is a witch.
Yeah, there's a whole coven out there, basically.
Yeah.
And yeah, again, it kind of, I suppose, again, as I said, the whole elevated horror thing harkens back to, like, fucking the Salem witch trials and all the rest, where basically
There's very much aspects of the Crucible in it,
that's
isn't there?
it's very much sort of young women are fucking, they're the scapegoat for everything. They're blamed for things if they don't do it, they're blamed for things if they do it. So you're damned if you do and damned if you don't. And I suppose it's this kind of nice thing at the end where, like, this poor girl who was, as I said, was a scapegoat by the family. When they were running out of money, they were talking about selling her off to another family so she could be their servant and all the rest. And she's just, again, spoiler, she's the last one standing, and she fucks off into the woods
And becomes
with the
a
coven.
witch.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
She does
So
it. She
this
does deal
joyous-
with the devil, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Flying around quite happy with all of the other young maidens, kind of thing. So,
But it's like the family, they're not good. Like the father, he's like overly
Prideful,
proud. The mother just seems to hate the whole thing. And
she even says herself that she didn't mean to be so shrewish and all the rest.
Yeah.
And she's just this needy, whiny, religious shrew.
the
younger
brother
kids
that
are
gets
horrible.
killed, basically, is having like incestuous thoughts about his sister, and then the two twins are just horrible. And
yeah,
they're
not
very
really
much the kind of like the witchcraft kind of
yeah, they're kind of like
crowd,
accusatory kind of as well.
and
So.
putting on, because that was the whole thing with the Crucible, whereas, and what really happened was like young kids pretending
Yeah.
that they were after seeing people consorting with the devil in the woods and all this shit, and that brings it in. But Robert Eggers is a brilliant director. Like, I think there's you have one of his films on your list as well.
Do I?
Yeah. But the Northman is great, and that he has an act for working with a lot of the same people over and over again, and I think he is a fairly unique director. And as well, like with one of the other films like that, just in black and white, and he's doing the remake of Nosferatu now, which looks fucking like it could have been amazing. Anna Taylor-Joy was going to be in this as well. She was in the Northman as well, but I think it's because she was going off doing Furiosa. But she was very, very good in it. And like, I mean, these are young kids. Well, they would have been young kids at the time.
Young
and even like the young fella, I went off looking him up on IMDb, and I think he's only done 1 or 2 movies afterwards, but there's a bit, that dying scene with him where he wakes up, and it's very, because people speak in the vernacular of the time.
Yeah. I had to put subtitles on because I'm half deaf anyway. I was like, what did they say? What are they saying? What are they saying?
But when he wakes up, it's very kind of like Shakespearean, almost kind of like, death speech.
Yes. A soliloquy kind of thing. And he's like, sort of seeing the light of Christ and all this kind of stuff. Yeah, it is. It's kind of powerful.
Yeah, it's very well acted, Like, I would have thought, because that's why I went off looking him up, kind of going, Jesus, surely this kid, now that he's probably an adult, so that he must be in a load of things. And
not quite. Yeah, fair enough. Leave him grow up and find his own way, kind of thing. But yeah. I suppose there was a lot of hype around that at the time as well, I think.
It came out of nowhere. As well, it was like, I think it was his first movie, but it's because a lot of the movies, I think you're just kind of coming out of the whole, there was still a lot of remakes going on. And it was like, horror started really coming back, I suppose, with The Conjuring. And so into the cinema, started doing well in the cinema, and people started going, oh fuck, but like, I mean, this was very different from a Hollywood kind of thing. Like, I mean, A24, they're everywhere now. But I think that's one of the things about the 2010s, which is, 2010s is a great period for horror.
Yeah, I was kind of going, I can't really remember, and then it's like I had trouble narrowing down my list, so I have a load of honourable mentions that would actually appear on a top 10, where had the other ones not squizzed it out.
I think it was with a lot of the remakes from 2000s that, and as well, I think it was a lot of filmmakers that were really heavily influenced by the 70s and the 80s horror movies.
Yeah,
were in the position to make horror movies.
Time there, yeah.
And there were some, like, I mean, one of my favourite, I'll just say it now, it's just a shout out, he's in Osgood Perkins. It's Anthony Perkins from Psycho's son. His first film was February, or The Black Coat's Daughter. I mean, he might have done something actually before that, but the guy that did Longlegs. And he's one of my favourite directors at the moment, and he's doing that Stephen King thing, Monkey, which looks fucking mental, coming out very, very soon. But like, I think it started giving all these people it's horror started getting weird again.
Yeah, it's almost
with
giving
it.
people sort of the courage to go and be strange.
Yeah, where it's like, look, you don't like. There's very few slasher movies. I think that was the thing. The 2000s was slasher movies were fucking kind of going again. It was remakes, and it was remakes of slasher movies, torture porn and all that, and then
I think
this
people
was-
had enough of the torture porn.
yeah.
Actually, where was Martyrs in the whole?
I did Martyrs would have been sure that was my number one.
Was it last
yeah.
week? Yes. No, sorry, I'm having a little time blip here. You see, everything is just melding into one here now at the moment for me. But yeah, I think that was probably the pinnacle of all those torture porn ones, and sort of people kind of went, okay, enough of that. Kind of get back to like the spooky horror.
I think
now.
Serbian movie probably was the
That,
point,
yeah.
but most people probably
And
didn't see
Human
Serbian
Centipede
movie.
and all
Yeah,
that
yeah,
kind of
Human
stuff,
Centipede. I think was when people started going like, look, this
Yeah,
is
we've
fucking-
reached. Yeah, okay, you've been trying to push the envelope. The envelope has been pushed.
and it's
far
just not
enough,
very
thanks.
good,
Yeah.
But I think it was with The Conjuring really when that went to the cinema and it made a lot of money that people kind of went,
Ooh,
and
spooky
then
horror
kind of
works.
you had It as well and all that stuff. But yeah, what's your number 9 anyways?
Rubber, a bit out of left field, because it just baffled me when we saw it. It was hilariously weird and absurd and all the rest. And basically, for anyone who doesn't know the plot of it, it's just basically a rubber tire comes to life and starts following people and
killing people,
them.
yeah.
Yeah, and that's basically the whole film. It's just so fucking
Was it the
bizarre.
soundtrack done by the guy, Mr. Ozio, who did?
Oh yeah, Flat
Was it?
Eric and stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think it was
was,
that.
wasn't
Yeah,
it?
so yeah, the soundtrack also was a bit sort of offbeat and off kilter as well. But it was just you can make a horror about anything. There's a fucking killer tire on the loose.
seemed
And
to-
I like those kind of maximum overdrive. I like the whole fucking the absurdity of it all.
I seem to remember liking it, but
Yeah.
I think it kind of fell a bit flat in the middle, didn't it? Because there is really only so much you can do with a killer tire.
Yeah, that's it. Only so many ways you can roll people
And they
over.
fucking killed people really quick. Then at the same time, I think it might have been your man that did Rubber did that Bad Cops thing.
Could be.
Remember Marilyn Manson was in it
Yes.
as a skateboarding teenager?
Yeah. Yeah.
That film is fucking
just has-
really funny if you can.
It is that
find
real?
it.
Like it's Australian, isn't it? Or
No,
New Zealand?
well, it was a French. I think it was a French director. It was the guy I think that directed Rubber, but he did this, and it might have been French Canadian. But it's fucking. It's stupid. It's stupid in a good way.
Yeah.
It's really, 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 really funny. But no one seemed to see it when it came out. And
Yeah,
no
so
one
you were
said-
talking about it and people were like, I think
Yeah.
you dreamt that.
Because
Well,
I think there was another film that, like, not Paul Black Mall Cop, but there was some other kind of thing like Bad Cops that came out in the cinema that was like fucking one of those things, and that kind of
Took
it
away,
away from
yeah.
it, and then no one knew about the other thing, and they still don't, because if people say Bad Cops, they think it and they're like, that piece of shit, and it's like no.
the other one, the other one that was all weird and horror. But yeah, I had to stick that in because it was just, I like to kind of add these lists, sort of films that take a risk or they change things or they sort of, and this one was just baffling and bizarre.
Yeah.
And you could quite easily see this in 20 years time, like Mystery Science Theatre 2000 doing a running commentary on it, because it is such a weird film.
Yeah, well, I think if people nowadays probably, it's kind of Adult Swimish as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just, it's very difficult to explain, and there's actually very little dialogue in the whole thing, obviously, because a tire
Yeah.
doesn't talk. It's just mental.
I don't think you know why the tire is doing it or how it all happened. It's just fucking.
it's not. There's no like, oh, there's a meteor passed over and brought this. It was just like, this is just a killer tire. Go with the flow, kind of a thing. Yeah, just accept it. And if you accept it, it is kind of weird and absurd.
Oh, that's a very good choice, actually. I totally forgot about that was. But my number 9. I threw in 2 movies because I'm fairly sure it's the same director, but it's the same similar cast anyway, and totally overlooked it as well. Stakeland, which it's a futuristic vampire movie, kind of like Mad Max with vampires, but.
Very good.
The vampires are the threat, but people are the threat as well, because people are after forming these religious cults. So they kill people and they sacrifice people to the vampire. There's a load of shit going on.
Yeah.
They did a sequel which wasn't as good, and that could have really extended the whole universe and the narrative too. But because it didn't too good, I think it pretty much killed off the franchise. And Late Phases, which is we've talked about this before on the show. It's probably one of the better, it's definitely one of the better werewolf films over the last 10-15 years. And that stars, God, his name just goes out. I'm not going to look it up. Fucking Wikipedia it yourself. It has the same actor in it. And he's very like Charles Bronson-y is the best way that I can. His name will come to me when we're talking about fucking something later on down the line. But in both of them, he's like badass. In like Stakeland, he's like a vampire hunter that saves this kid from it and takes him under his wing, and they're kind of like going across rural America. Fighting vampires and trying to find the head vampire and get revenge on it. It's fucking brilliant. They did a movie on it called Priest, not movie of Stakeland. There was this manga called Priest, which was about this guy that was like recruited by the Vatican to hunt vampires. It was in the future where vampires were after taking over, and they kind of roamed the desert, and there are cities built up to keep them out. It's kind of like that. The style of that, but not like the movie is fucking dog shit. Don't ever look at the movie. But Stakeland, amazing film. I don't know. I thought it'd be a lot bigger. I thought people would really go fucking ape shit for this.
Yeah.
Because it's hyper violent. The action in it's good. The characterization is brilliant.
I think it's a Western, all those things that people were kind of biggish at the time, like say Cormac McCarthy's The Road and The Walking Dead and all these post-apocalyptic kind of wastelands where people are trying to survive. And, you know, sort of, like you said, they're sort of humans as well are just as dangerous as the monsters in it, because they're all after dividing into their own factions, and people are killing rather than helping other people because it's just easier to kill and fucking have more resources for yourself kind of a thing. But yeah, I think it captured that whole sort of feeling of the time, I suppose, as well.
Yeah, it was Nick D'Amici.
Yes.
Is the guy. He's a fantastic actor. Late phases, he plays a blind army veteran who's moves to like, you know, an old person's
kind of
commune or a retirement village, who are being attacked by werewolves. So like straight away he gets attacked by werewolves, but he survives and he figures out, all right, that was like a werewolf and it's going to be back in a month's time. So he's
Starts
like trying to solve the mystery who it is and prepping over the month. Fucking excellent movie, done extremely well. The werewolves are actually done really well, but it's a fucking fantastic, just one shot movie.
Yeah,
it's an hour, like the hour and a half goes in a blink of an eye. But he is amazing, and like the characters, and it's just done so well.
It's
like
kind of commentary again on like he's older and he's blind, and the son is just kind of like, oh, it's just fucking, he's more of a hassle now than at Nelson's, like they're almost discarded and right, okay, get you settled in the retirement community so I can kind of forget about you and I know you're okay, and just kind of written off, I suppose, out of society. And yet he's the only one who was fucking looking into this whole werewolf thing and trying to save people, and he's still a massive badass, like, you know. He's stalking around his house with a gun fucking killing things,
but no one believes it. And it's like, I mean, this has been good because it's like been happening in this retirement community. There's been people being killed in this area for fucking
the police never
ages.
Look into it because they're like, sure, they're just old.
And they're living near the woods, so they're saying it's just an animal attack. It's brilliant. It's fucking so good. I really don't understand how the two of those movies slip by a lot of people with it. So yeah, massive recommendations from me on those two. So what would be your number 8 thing?
Well, I'm going to skip over because I've seen your list and my number 8 is actually your number 1.
Yeah, we can do it now.
No, we'll wait until number 1, so you can just bear that in mind.
All right.
I'll skip ahead to another one.
Oh no, sure, I'll do my number 8 so we don't get kind of. So my number 8. No, do your number 8 and it's fine. Like,
okay, well, my number 8, I suppose, is Hereditary.
And yeah, like that is my number 1. Yeah.
Okay, you take the lead.
No, you talk about it. No, why would you have it at number 8 and not number 1?
Yes, no, I quite enjoyed it from the point of view of, again, it's not a slasher film, it's not a gory monster film or anything like that. It's more kind of a supernatural religiosity kind of a film, a film dealing with sort of grief and familial fucking illnesses and hereditary illnesses, like mental illnesses and stuff like that. And each of the characters, they don't actually say a lot. They don't, but the character.
They cry a lot.
Yes, they do that as well. But I mean, just the small bit that they do speak, who the character is, like, the daughter, like, and there's some really effective little things in it where she has this little tick where she does a kind of a thing, a sound. Just one of her sort of ticks, but it's that sound is used so effectively throughout the film, and it's just such a simple thing.
Do you know why she was doing that?
I presume it's because she was on the spectrum.
No, that's the demon.
All right, okay.
The whole story, like, fucking massive spoilers for anyone now who has. The whole thing about Hereditary is that it's like when it starts off when it's like the daughter is given like the mother's eulogy, as in kind of like
Toni Collette.
Toni Collette, yeah.
The actor
yeah.
is given her own mother, yeah.
Yeah, and
it's a
she
grandmother,
talks
so.
about how her brother killed himself. He was schizophrenic. The mother had like a dissociative identity disorder, which seemed to come on in later life. Her father was schizophrenic, so it is that hereditary thing. So it plays it up really well throughout it, where you kind of go, fucking, is it schizophrenia that they're seeing things and stuff? But then at the end, it's like, no. But then again,
what is exactly what is real, what is not.
Yeah,
it could be argued. Yeah,
but it kind of like I think it is just, it's more about the demon. It's the hereditary thing with the demon. So kind of she did when
Paimon, wasn't it?
Yeah, Paimon. Yeah,
or Paimon.
Yeah, he is. The grandmother wanted, and her cult wanted to put the demon inside, get a human form for the demon from the start, but it was meant to be her son, but he killed himself, like Toni Collette's brother. And then what happened was that Toni Collette was estranged when she had her first son, which was meant to be the vessel, but she wouldn't let anyone near him, so then they convinced her to get pregnant again when they got back together, and then they had Charity, which was the girl, but Paimon was meant to be in a boy, so they were after... He was trapped in that, and that's the way he talked to us. So Charity was never human. It's just a vessel of human, and the cult had it planned the whole way through that they'd kill her at some stage, and the only people have to kind of willingly give in to the demon. So the whole thing is Toni Collette gets tricked into then with her grief of allowing the demon in and summoning. She performs the ritual, which summons him in to the son, who's Paimon at the end.
Okay, right. That's all. Just for the kind of the visuals of anyone who's listening to this as well, if you can picture Charlie when he was in the post office room. Yes.
Oh, Charlie Kelly.
Charlie Kelly, yes, and It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. It's just, and it's after turning into a fucking internet meme, obviously, at this stage.
But that's the thing.
You're drawing all these lines and connections.
It's an amazing movie. Like I think it's my number one for a reason. Like I mean, I love occult stuff.
Yeah.
And there was, the first time we saw it, there was like hints around it. There's stuff written in Enochian on the walls, and I remember seeing it at first going, what? Fuck it, because it only barely shows it, and as well because it's like written English Enochian.
Yeah.
And I was like, what the? Fucking. And some of the symbols in it as well, like the symbol for Paimon. Like, I mean, that's real. It's if you get the Goetia, these things, they're the proper symbols. Like, it's accurate to that world or that mythology. Like, you know. And it was, it just, I knew there was something special about it. I was going, and Toni Collette is fucking amazing in it. I've never seen a portrayal of grief.
So raw, basically.
Yeah, like when she's just down on crying, that scene with Gabriel Byrne, who was a fantastic actor in his own right, just plays like a father that's struggling, that doesn't say much because he doesn't really know what to say or how to deal with it.
It's a father trying to hold it all together. He's after losing his daughter as well. His wife is seemingly going mad. His son, who is, again, spoilers, like the son accidentally causes the death of the daughter, but the mother blames.
He doesn't though. It's all set up because if you see it, they're going by that there's the Paimon's mark is put on
it's
the
all
thing,
on its chest.
and it's cult members that cut up the nuts and put it in the cake that are at the party. And the only way people figured that out was they read the script and it was put down, cult member makes cake. So people were like, oh right, so it's been manipulated by this fucking cult from the start. With it, but it's amazing. And like, I mean, it might sound like if you haven't seen it and I'm after ruining it for you, it doesn't. It's the shit that happens in it, the way that it happens. Ari Aster is amazing, and as well there's this whole kind of unholy trinity aspect to Paimon as well, where it's like the physical incarnation of him, the spiritual thing, and then there's this pulse, a blue pulse of light, which is like the Holy Spirit aspect of him, where you see that, and that's the part for me where it was like, is this schizophrenia? you know, it's just done so fucking well. But like when it does, like we haven't given away the ending. When it goes fucking off at the end,
Full tilt, yeah.
because it might sound like really boring. It's like this examination of grief, but it's fucking not. And then when it goes fucking insane, the last half hour of it, it's
pretty insane.
yeah. You just kind of go, all right, this is not mental illness. But yeah, it's my number one. I do think it's one of the best films out of a lot of them. But like it's in top 10 of yours, so that's good. So my number 8 is The Conjuring 2.
Ah yes, I have honourable mentions listed down, and the whole Conjuring series.
I wasn't going to put it in, because the whole Conjuring it's a weird kind of fucking, because it did really kickstart. It proved to Hollywood that they're like, horror was still a thing, and that people could make horror or money at the box office.
Supernatural, occult, as you said, all that kind of stuff. So it harkens back to kind of like the days of The Exorcist.
Like James Wan is after doing an awful lot for horror. Like Saw, he kind of fucking dominated in the 2000s with Lee Winnell. You have to mention Lee Winnell as well. Lee Winnell went off on his own track. Actually, just a quick shout out for one of Lee Winnell's movies from the 2010s, which isn't necessarily a horror movie, but no one seems to have seen it. Upgrade.
Oh, is this the robot one?
Yeah, well, your man has a chip in him, so it's kind of like Deus Ex, if anyone's played Deus Ex. But your man gets this chip, which basically turns him into a super soldier, and he just fucking destroys people. He goes up against these cyborgs that are after him, that they want the chip back out of him, and it is fucking brilliant. The fight scenes in it are amazing. The way that it finished kind of was left it open for more in the universe. Unfortunately, didn't. I think people, if it had come out after Cyberpunk 2077, and people getting into that, I think it would have had a bigger it's just fucking really, really good. But Lee Winnell had his own Insidious running alongside the Conjuring universe. And take the two of them very similar.
Because that was, I couldn't pick, because obviously there's different, what's the word I'm looking for? Installments of it, I suppose. It's a whole series, so I was like, look, I'm not going to be able to pick out one of them over the other. The whole series is just
we only looked at
worth mentioning.
The last one, the Black Door, or the Red Door. Was it the Red or the Black Door? Which was directed by Patrick Wilson, and it wasn't great. Kind of, it's maybe if they had to do it when it was, like, at the top of its game or something like that, it might, but I don't know. But yeah, Insidious, I always liked it, but not a horror series that I'd kind of continually watch. The Conjuring 1, I think, is good to look at once. It's not really that scary. If you look at it second time, it's just like, it feels really long. Conjuring 2, on the other hand, I think is a really, really good film. It's about the Warrens again, going off doing their thing, which it's about the Enfield poltergeist case of people, if you want to look that up, about which was apparently a true thing. Like the Warrens didn't have too much to do with it, really. But they didn't have really much to do with anything, and you're not going to get into the whole thing about them, because I suppose you're dealing with a fictional account of the Warrens
of something that they did, actions or whatever.
Yeah, but The Conjuring 2 is really good. It gave the world Valak, which fucking gave birth to the Nun franchise. First Nun film is terrible. Nun 2 is actually surprisingly good. Annabelle.
Yes.
The first Annabelle movie is alright. Second Annabelle movie, that's actually in my honourable mentions. That's really, really good.
Well. Yeah.
That's like with the kids in the dormitory, and the Nun 2 is kind of like that. But fucking what made Annabelle really different to the second one, Creation. It's like these kids are getting fucking
proper
murdered. Which Hollywood has always had a bit of a thing about it, not whatever they might do to kids offset.
Or dogs even.
But fucking Annabelle Creation was just balls to the wall, kind of
that's it.
It's bad, it's bad, it's good. Horror movie,
yes,
but
exactly.
But Conjuring 2, very, very good. I think there was lots of really good jump scares in it. The story is alright. It expands the universe nicely, but I think they're using The Conjuring 2 to kind of introduce all these different characters that they might
They
have
can
in
have
films,
franchises spinning off from them, yeah.
as well. But it's good. Like, it's done well. It's nothing really like the Enfield Poltergeist case, the real one that happened, but it's a good movie. Like, James Wan is a good director. I think that this is the last time he directed a Conjuring movie, and like Conjuring 3 is not a good movie. I think they're finishing off. They're doing like number 4 now, and then there was the other Annabelle one where it was basically like a haunted house thing where like all the objects were coming to life, and that was like, but like, I don't know what to expect. But yeah, Conjuring 2, that's my number 8. So what would be your number 7 then?
Where am I going? So this is, we're veering into sort of like comedy horror here, I suppose. What We Do in the Shadows.
Yeah, I was going to put it in, but then I was thinking, no, it's not a horror.
Well, it's got vampires and werewolves, do you know what I mean? So in that...
So is Scooby-Doo.
Scooby-Doo can be terrifying at times when you actually think about it.
Talking dog.
Exactly.
The son of Sam.
There you go. And it's always creepy fairground owners, isn't it? And all the rest. But yeah, What We Do in the Shadows, which of course spun off a whole series of seasons of What We Do in the Shadows. Taika Waititi, director, and Jermaine Clement from
They did that
Flight of the Conchords.
Wellington Paranormal, was it?
Which was sort of, again, another spin-off of that as well. So essentially it's kind of like the vampires, the real life vampires, if you know what I mean, as in the real life MTV's the real life. So it's just like these vampires who are living in this house as housemates, and just
they're
sort of
all
the
just
shenanigans
very
they get up to.
awkward as well. I think the TV show is very different from it. It's the similar concept, but they're very different characters.
Yeah, they're all just, obviously they're hundreds of years old or whatever, and they're all very socially awkward, and it's just, I suppose, as the whole comedy is from the clash.
And Peter, the Nosferatu that lives.
Yeah, it's just the clash of the old with sort of modern life and all the rest, and yeah, I mean, like, what's his face? Murray turns up as like the
werewolves, we're werewolves, not swearwolves.
Yeah, and it's all these like off kilter little things like that is just like it's watch it is the only thing I can say. It's hilarious without being like a laugh out loud comedy.
I'd imagine
it's just this gentle comedy,
I imagine a lot of people after seeing it because of the TV show as well. Because I didn't expect the TV show to be as big as it is.
Yeah,
it's
I'm
fucking
sure it's
massive.
going on 7 seasons now or something.
Yeah,
like that,
6 or 7. It's going into the last season is starting off now.
Yeah, and of course Matt Berry in this as well is just sort of.
I thought the TV show would be awful. That's why we didn't look at it for ages, because I just was convinced it was going to be terrible.
Yeah.
And then I saw someone talking about the Wesley Snipes cameo in it, and I saw that on YouTube, and it was like, this looks like it could actually be. And I think it's better than the movie.
Oh, it is. Yeah. Obviously, it has more room to expand and explore the world and kind of develop the characters and all the cast of support.
The characters are just better. Like
sort of the
Nandor is
ridiculous.
Yeah, but it's all the different layers to the video. It's kind of nice. It's sweet.
It is. They're basically this kind of off kilter family, like sort of, where they're kind of they pretend they don't like each other, but they do actually care about each other, and they're but it's just. And funnily enough, it didn't even matter what the structure of the season was. Like, I mean, you got this whole backdrop of the vampire council and all this kind of stuff. And even though some of that are the backdrop of the nightclub and they're running a nightclub, and that doesn't matter. It's almost like Seinfeld with vampires.
This stupid shit that they get up to. Yeah, I think it kind of constrains them when it puts them into stuff. Like with the nightclub, I think they were smart enough to kind of go, let's not focus on this too much. Let's just have it as a backstory, because they did it with the council with that season, and like the episodes that they did with that, they were the weakest out of the whole lot of them. Like, but still good. Like
exactly. Yeah. But that's why I've stuck that film in there, because it kind of spawned off that whole. As I said, Wellington Paranormal and What We Do in the Shadows, and the film itself was good as well. I always enjoy those kind of films. So yeah, that was my number 7.
Yeah, my number 7, which I think it might be your number 1. So yeah, we may as well talk about it now. So Mandy.
Yes.
By Cosmo.
I can't
pronounce begins with a.
That's so disrespectful.
He did. The Black Rainbow Behind the Black. I can't remember the fucking. And he did one of Guillermo del Toro's creepy curiosity fucking things. Cosmo I can't pronounce it. I'm so sorry. It's beyond my Irish tongue.
Yes.
But Nicolas Cage starring movie, very much inspired, I think, by kind of cult 70 kind of fantasy kind of horror stuff. It's so hard to explain. It's so stylish. It's basically a revenge flick. Nicolas Cage and his missus are living out in the middle of nowhere. This fucking weird religious cult come along and they send these demonic bikers off to kidnap the wife, and they kill her and then
horribly.
They think that they're after killing Nicolas Cage, but he survives, and it turns out that he was some kind of badass in the past. Like previous kind of life, and he goes off to kill him
to avenge the wife,
and it's just
there's no point even trying to explain it too much insofar as I think it's
an acid trip.
That's exactly
I hate using that kind of thing because
it's just all this like absolutely saturated high colour. The whole film feels like this weird dream, like a neon kind of a dream or something like that, and it's everything that happens in it, you're just kind of like, what? Jesus Christ, this is fucking horrendous.
It's shot amazing. Like, who it was is Panos Cosmatos.
There you go.
Is the director's name. Fucking amazing director. His dad was a director as well. Which I'm going to actually look up because it's going to drive me mad. It was produced by Elijah Wood's horror crowd. Who also, I should shout out for Maniac, which he was in the remake of, which is fucking amazing remake. Kind of different from the, but not too different from it. It's like,
what was the one with the shotgun hands?
Oh, that was Guns Akimbo.
When was that? We should have put that in the top 10 here.
Yeah, but that's not a horror movie. Daniel Radcliffe as well. He's
again,
brilliant.
Daniel Radcliffe is such a...
There's a ton of films with Samara Weaving in them. I didn't put any of them into...
Well, I have one in the honourable mentions.
Yeah, The Babysitter is great. It was like... not Get Out. It was like Ready or Not. But she was in another Mayhem, I think, and she was in that Guns Akimbo as well. And sure, she's someone, I think she could be massive, but she seems to want to do a lot of horror movies, which is great.
To maybe go into sort of the more mainstream ones. She always goes into these quirky, offbeat sort of weirdo films, and she's always fucking magical in them, as in like fucking psychotic, mental, fucking hysterical. She's, I suppose, Sherry Moon Zombie would be maybe sort of, she's that kind of maniacal kind of, sort of...
She's a bit of a better actor.
No, she is, but it's that kind of stereotype of the sort of the hot young blonde who is just absolutely stone fucking crack, like,
She's very... I kind of nearly use her as a guideline on what to watch.
Oh yeah,
if she pops up in a horror movie or a movie, look at it, because she seems to be... There's a few actors where you kind of go, Joaquin Phoenix, I know Joker 2 might be a load of shit according to people who haven't seen it, but he's someone else as well where I kind of go, because he's a bit like... he doesn't just do anything. He's not like fucking Bruce Willis.
Well, that's a very bad example at the moment, seeing as poor Bruce Willis isn't doing anything.
Yeah, no, but you remember Bruce Willis, he's just being fucking anything,
Friends, whatever.
Yeah, and Nicolas Cage for a while as well.
But having said that, because we are talking about Mandy, I will actually sit down and watch any Nicolas Cage film nowadays, because it's going to be so fucking... It's going to be wildly good or wildly bad, one or the other, and there's no middle ground, I don't think, for Nicolas. And even the wildly bad ones are fucking... He'll
generally be good enough in it. Yeah, there's a fair few movies after coming out over the last while, like that Pig film, must look at that. Long Legs. It's a perfect example.
Yeah, there you go. It's just so bizarre. But yeah, like Mandy, as I said, it's just a fever dream, fucking LSD trip, whatever way you want to phrase it. It's shot absolutely phenomenally. And of course, there's the whole scene where he's in his tiger underpants going fucking bananas in the toilets as well, which is just... It just comes out of nowhere, and you're just... Did I just see Nicolas Cage running around in tiger underpants? Yes, I did.
It's the evil bikers in it are just done so well, but the whole thing is just... It kind of subverts what you think is fucking going on with it as well. I don't want to say, because if people haven't seen it, you do think it's kind of set up like this fantasy revenge film, because she's like reading these fantasy books at the start, so it's nearly like it's connected in with that. But then you're kind of like, are all these people just on fucking like, mad hallucinogenic drugs? Because when he does start killing people, they're not like these demonic bikers, they're just like these fucking dropouts from the fucking 60s. Some of them.
And it does, it has that whole vibe of, well, kind of like almost an exploitation film, insofar as the deaths are really fucking graphic as well. Like, I mean, how the girlfriend dies is just we've watched a lot of horror films. I have a very strong stomach, and most of the time when something happens, I normally laugh because you kind of you're conditioned that way. I was flinching during those scenes. I was like, Jesus, this
Well,
is
that's what it's
horrendous.
set up so well. Like I mean, it is shot so well. Like I mean, Mr. Panos. Cosmatos. He's directed.
butchering
Yeah, I
that
know.
poor
I'm
man's
so
name.
sorry if you're listening. I'd imagine he is.
You're
Like,
listening. Yeah.
But it's like he's directed Rambo Part 2 and Cobra. People might be going, fucking what? I mean, they're good movies. Cobra is great. He did Tombstone as well. But Cobra is a fucking amazing. It's one of Sylvester Stallone's best movies. It's like a cult of people with axes.
Is it a horror movie from the 2010s though? Should we be talking about it?
Yeah, we should be talking. Anytime we can talk about Cobra, we should. It's got that great line like, "You're the disease and I'm the cure."
Yes, that's fabulous.
Yeah,
Anyway,
but
on to your number 7.
that was my number 7.
All right. Okay. Sorry.
Yeah, but yeah, Mandy, fucking fantastic movie.
Okay.
Hopefully he'll get his arse in gear and start directing more movies because. He's only done 2 so far. But I suppose if they're 2 good movies, great movies, like what he's done, So yeah, Beyond the Black Rainbow was his other movie, which I think probably influenced Stranger Things an awful lot. Because it's the whole thing there is that like early 80s, late 70s vibe about all these movies. But number 6, Laura, you're number 6.
My number 6 is a black and white film, The Lighthouse.
And that's Robert Eggers as well.
Yes, there you go. And isn't it Daniel Radcliffe? No, it's the other chap, isn't it? Elijah Wood? No, it's not. Who is it?
This is your fucking number
Fucking
6.
hell, no, my brain is not working. Jesus Christ.
It's Robert Pattinson.
Sorry, Robbie. Yes, I knew to some teen.
Yeah.
Fucking yes. And obviously fucking the Green Goblin as well. William Dafoe.
Yes.
I'm having total brain farts. But yeah, it's just this. Again, I suppose it's kind of like Mandy, except the direct opposite, insofar as it's just this mental alcohol-fueled descent into madness as well.
Yeah.
You know, it's just these 2 guys. Basically, they are lighthouse keepers. They're out minding the light. Cut off from the rest of humanity, the world, society and everything. It's just the 2 of them drinking their alcohol, going fucking slowly insane in a lighthouse, basically, with some sort of supernaturally elements.
Yeah, you get to feel that with Robert Pattinson's character that there's more than meets the eye with him, that he's there for different reasons.
Yeah.
And William Dafoe's character is a bit of a dick.
Oh, it's a bit of a dick. He's a total dick. Yeah. So
but it is, it's just alcohol. It's fueled by alcohol. People going mad, kind of like fucking being trapped in a lighthouse, basically, fucking just drinking alcohol. But there's other shit happening around them.
It is, like, I mean, and without sounding horrendous, like, there's fucking mermaids and stuff get tossed into the mix as well. Like, so but it's not it's not like, it's not Splash.
It turns into a H.P. Lovecraft horror movie. It's like, when you're watching it, you know something's going to happen because of who the director is. Anyone that saw The Witch, they were like, really excited for his follow-up to it, and it was like, you knew there had to be something.
With Dafoe in it as well. Like, I mean, it's going to be fucking something bananas as well, you know. But that's I just threw it in there because it was such an unusual kind of one as well. There's not many people shooting black and white anymore. There's not so many people that just go right.
It looks
an
lovely
intense character study
it's
where
like,
it's just hanging on the 2
it's
people.
Kind of high contrast. It's like the old black and white. You know, it's not soft black and white that you'd see.
But
in
that's
a lot
that's the thing. Every frame looks like you could print it and put it on the wall in the frame or something like that. You know, but it's just as I said, I'd stick that one in there because it was just such an unexpected palate cleanser, I suppose, is probably the best way to describe it.
It gets fucking. You think Mandy is like? I mean, Lighthouse, I think, out-weirds Mandy.
Yes,
with
and
some
that's
of the
saying
stuff.
a lot. Yeah.
Especially the ending. Which, spoilers, he wants to fuck the lighthouse. Essentially, which is not. It's just it turns into Call of Cthulhu.
Yeah.
At the last half hour of it, it's brilliant. It's really, really, really good. But yeah, my number 6 is A Dark Song. And it's like, I mean, you look like what we were saying a while ago about like all the movies that we're picking so far, they're really different. They're really strange movies.
Yeah.
I think the 2010s were the kind of like where folk horror came back as well. Like The Witch, I would
to be experimental, I think.
Yeah.
More so than straightforward like bloody gore slashing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like my number 6, it's A Dark Song. For people who haven't seen it, it's about a woman who hires an occultist, a magician, a black magician, to help her perform a ritual, basically the Abramelin, which people are, it's a ritual to summon your own guardian angel. It kind of made famous, it was made famous by Abramelin, who was the monk that performed it and wrote about it. But Aleister Crowley apparently performed it up in his house up in the Highlands that he bought in Scotland from Blasky. Was it? I fucking saw the place. But it was bought by
Led Zeppelin.
Yeah,
Robert
one
Plant.
of them, yeah. And he apparently he couldn't live there because there was places ridden with demons. Because Crowley in his fashion kind of started doing it and just went.
Do you know what? Yeah, it's fine. I'll just leave all of this lying around.
Yeah, I find there's too much work to it. Where it's there's all this stuff about being abstinent and kind of having to wash yourself numerous times a day and.
So what you just say is dirty stinker.
Oh, it's it's more of a. Say a religious kind
bathing,
of what kind of fucking
an absolution kind of a thing.
Yeah, Western fucking God, I can't do traditional magic thing instead of a black magic ritual. I tried doing part of it as well years ago, and I got bored of it after about 2 days. Where it's you're meant to do it over 30 days, could be 60 days.
Screw that, too much effort.
But it's basically that ritual being performed and what they're seeing, and it. Anyone who's in the know who's seen it will tell you it's probably the closest to reality for Western traditional ritual magic. With it kind of which people would talk about what black magic, for lack of a better kind of term for it. It's places like the Golden Dawn, or places, groups like the Golden Dawn. It's very, very good. It's just that weird kind of feeling, that uneasy feeling the whole way through it. And just 2 people in it the whole way through it. The ending, I think, is a bit shit. Not that the very, very last scene is a bit kind of but it's a great movie. It's really, really good. I was hoping to rewatch it this week.
Actually, we can watch it just because we have.
Oh yeah,
spoken about it doesn't mean you're not allowed to
end up
watch
looking at it again. But it's a really, really, really good movie, and it's another one of those movies that I think it just kind of flew under the radar. But when you put in if you're looking for movies, it'll always come up in lists.
Yeah.
But I think, because of the way it sounds kind of boring.
Yeah.
But it's not. It really, really isn't. And it's all about the relationship between the 2 of them, where it's he thinks he's in power because he's the one performing the ritual, and she's there kind of helping him with it, and he kind of treats her like shit, basically. But it's all about it's kind of a redemptive arc, and it's kind of it's more about grief as well. With it, but if you're into the occult, it's must watch. It really is. You'd be looking at it going,
I recognise that.
But so that's my number 6. So what would be your number 5 then, Laura? I think we both have the same. Oh no, we don't.
Do we? All right.
No.
Well, I have The Devil's Candy. For my number 6. Is it number 6? Number 6?
No, that's your number 5.
Number 5, sorry, yes. So, and we actually rewatched it recently enough just to make sure it was as good as I remember. But it's just, I suppose as well, it touches on the whole, it's this guy who's an artist and he's into his heavy metal, and his daughter's a little metaler as well. So it's they're walking around wearing Metallica and Iron Maiden t-shirts.
And that's the only reason you like it.
That's the only reason I liked it, yeah. And the daughter wants a Red Gibson flying.
Which you have.
Me.
So you can be, I have one.
I have one, and I didn't have to suffer for it that greatly. But it's I suppose typical family. They kind of they want to start a new life in this sort of deserted almost farmhouse and extend themselves financially to be able to do it and all the rest. And the kid has to start a new school, so it's kind of like the start of every Amityville, haunted house. And it's kind of like an Amityville type thing, because the family before, they have a brief sort of a shot at the start showing this horrendous murder kind of thing.
Yeah, their son kills them, and as well it's basically the devil lives in the house, and he was controlling the son, who was meant to be a mental patient who killed kids when he was younger. It's about the father being corrupted by the devil.
Exactly, the father starts hearing all there's a lot of chanting in the background and under, and so the poor girl is obviously the focus of this this mentally unstable man who used to live here, and he's very, very creepy. He's always childlike in his own approach, and
he was the priest in Constantine.
Oh, right. Well, there we go. But yeah, it's just watching sort of like the father sort of slowly fucking up and being drawn more under the spell of, you know, the devil, I suppose, as such, and the daughter just basically panicking and trying to be resourceful and escape. And it's terrifying. She gets abducted like twice or something.
Yeah, it's the whole thing that like the mental patient is being told by the devil to kill me because the devil likes eating children's souls because they're like the sweetest
candy. Exactly, yes, because
and the father is kind of being bought off by the kind of drawn into it where it's like, I'll give you fame, and like the art studio is called Belial Studio and
that's it, yeah, and it's all these sort of like he's a kind of a starving artist, and then he suddenly it's all these hints of like fame and fortune. If only he sort of starts ignoring the daughter a little bit, and you know, sort of losing his family responsibilities. So it's just a nice straight up fucking proper horror. Like,
yeah,
you know?
it's good. Like I did like it. I have it in the honorary mention. Like I really liked it. But it's like
But that's it. I mean, it's a traditional horror in the sense of like there's no great surprises really. It kind of sets it up, and it doesn't like kind of. It doesn't give you any red herrings or anything like that. So you know where it's
you know what's going to happen from the start.
It's just waiting to see how it's going to happen. So it's in that respect. It's just.
I think it was the fellow who directed it. He hasn't really done much since, and he seemed to be on a bit of a roll. But he did. There was a film. It was like The Pretty Ones, or it was an Australian movie about. One going to the prom who was torturing and that was really well received. She was torturing her date, and that was really well received. And then he went on to this, and then for some reason I don't know. And like I mean, it's directed really well. There's absolutely nothing wrong with the movie. Like it is a great movie. But just I don't know. It didn't seem to take off at all. Like.
That was it, yeah, and it didn't seem to hit many people's big list or anything like that either as well. So but that's why I have it on mine because I quite enjoyed it.
Well, we were into the home stretch, and I think we were going to have some of the same ones on. But my number 5, that was your number 5. My number 5 is Cabin in the Woods. Yes,
and that's my number 4-3. So let's go talk about that then.
Cabin in the Woods, it really it's another kind of subversion of the horror genre. It was Drew Goddard, is it? And Josh Whedon, I think, wrote it. He didn't write it. I think it was directed by Drew Goddard. But Cabin in the Woods, it's like it plays up on all of these tropes and it's this whole thing of like, well, what if these tropes were real and what was going on was these kids were being sacrificed to these old gods to stop them from coming forth. So they had to perform certain rituals every year or every couple of years where it's like these teenagers, they have to get killed in the cabin in the woods by different monsters which are picked at random.
It's kind of like Monster Gladiators almost.
Yeah, it's kind of like The Evil Dead, but it's like, well, The Evil Dead has happened because this, and then what happens is the kids break out of it and
they see through the veil and see the other side kind of thing, and they realise it's almost like what was that Jim Carrey thing? Fucking hell, why is my mind just going blank?
I know, fuck, what the hell was it called?
Truman Show.
The Truman Show,
Jesus Christ, my brain. But it's basically like the Truman Show but for like horror and monsters.
The dad and stepdads, isn't it?
Yeah, true.
But it's brilliant. It's I don't think any good. Chris Hemsworth, one of Chris Hemsworth's first films. I can't remember most of the people that are in it are kind of went on to be famous afterwards. But it's just really, really, really good horror because it does have that. There's like parts of Evil Dead in it. There's like a slasher movie thing going on in it. There's like zombies in it.
And then you kind of have this hint in the whole way through that there's something not quite right, and then it's like the big curtain reveal kind of a thing, and you go, oh, wow,
and then when they show all the other monsters, it's just done so well. And like for years, people were saying that they have to do a sequel to it. It's like there can't be a sequel. Anyone that's seen it, we won't give away the ending in case, but there'll never be a sequel to it. And it's just brilliant. It really, 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 really is good. And for the time, they did such a good job at keeping it an all fucking secret what it was about. All that, like when you're looking at the trailers, it was like there's something. You knew it was kind of.
You knew, there was something coming. There was some twist coming, but the twist, it was when it did hit, you kind of go, oh, that's pretty cool.
I think as well at the time, a lot of people were just because it was such a big subversion of stuff that you're just kind of, I don't know what to fucking make it, you know, and
bit of a melon twister.
yeah, there's so much action in it as well. It's just a really, really, really good movie. It's fucking brilliant. It should have done what horror movies, what Scream did with slasher movies. That's what it, but I think it was just, Cabin in the Woods probably put the final nail in a lot of fucking other things as well, because it's like, you can't really go beyond this. This is like a mixture of genres. It brings everything together, like traditional horror. Yeah. In such a way that, what the fuck do you do after it?
Yeah, how do you do that?
And like when you look at the horror films that came out, like, I mean, like we're after saying 2010s, they're very untraditional. They're like, and I think Cabin in the Woods really started. I think Cabin in the Woods was like around 2010, 2011 with it all. But yeah, amazing kind of thing. So that's my number 5.
Yeah. And I seem to remember as well, the poster for it was just
a cabin in the woods.
But it was an ideal, it was just your perfect horror poster. It was just this white poster with like this.
It looked like Saw.
Yeah.
It looked like the posters to Saw, but with a cabin on it.
Yeah.
So it kind of set it up where you kind of went, oh fuck, maybe it's going to be like Saw. That you thought maybe it's like these people operating behind the scenes, because there was a lot of like as well coming in the 2000s that you had, what was that? There's that fucking movie Owen Wilson was in it, where Vacancy, where, and like what Hostel, where they had it set up where it was like, oh, people are spying on people, getting killed, making snuff movies and all this shit. So you kind of thought, maybe that's what's going on. Yeah. No. But then it's like, no.
Yes, indeed.
So yeah, that's my number 5. So you're number 4.
My number 4, I think yours is a bit higher.
Yeah, it's my number 2,
Yeah. So it's The Void.
Yeah.
And essentially as well, this came completely out of nowhere. You put it on one night and I was like, what? I've never heard of this. What the fuck is this bullshit kind of a thing? Because it starts off a bit hokey. I don't want to say hokey, but it's sort of like, sort of they're at a hospital and there's these people start appearing in robes outside, and I was kind of rolling my eyes going, oh, for God's sake. But then it just goes into this whole big mental fucking reanimator fucking Hellraiser kind of thing where it's like fucking, I suppose, without trying to spoil
it's a John Carpenter movie made by not John Carpenter, really, but better. It's it has the whole thing of people trapped within a big building, trapped within a hospital, and people fucking, horrible entities coming in trying to kill them, and then it kind of turns into this whole like H.P. Lovecraft.
Yes, it's like fucking shit, there's this abyss fucking
elder gods,
it's
kind
just
of like mad doctors.
Trying to kind of meet up with dead ones again, kind of a thing in this whole like divide, I suppose. Really, it's
an amazing movie. It's another one of these things. It's on like Amazon Prime and a lot of different things now, because for some reason as well, it didn't really fucking take off at the time. I don't know why. Probably because it's so weird with things, and it's a shame because it's such a good movie, and like you were saying, like all the different elements it's like it starts off like a John Carpenter movie. The soundtrack is very John Carpenterish. It
starts off with even sort of like a strange kid on the road, sort of staggering along covered in blood, and they're like, oh my God, what's happened? And there's whispers like dead bodies in a house a couple of miles back. You really don't know what the hell is going on as such. And then, of course, you have, like as I said, with John Carpenter, the group of disparate people. You've got, like, sort of this mute kid, you've got this older fucking gruff guy, you've got a sheriff, you've got a nurse, you've got a grandpa, you've got a pregnant, terrified teenager. You just have the whole gamut of all the cross section, I suppose, really, of all the characters you want. And it's got great fucking marketing. It's just a triangle. There you go. And it's such an iconic kind of because it's on everything. It's on the robes that people are wearing. It's how it's opened up. It's just this fucking ominous triangle, like, And
it's like the director is Stephen Kostansky and Jeremy Gillespie, and they're kind of part of a group of people that they do these low budget kind of horror movies. Fancy like another one that I think it was just Stephen Kostansky directed, but like I think they're all involved in all the different films. It's Psycho Gorman, which is we were going to do like the early 2000s, but I don't think I can do another list. Which is probably one of my favorite horror movies, fantasy films, even comedies from the last God knows how long,
kid centric.
But like, I mean, The Void is like, I mean, my number 2. I was going to have it as number 1 even over It's fucking great. It's funny, horrific. When the special effects come in, it's all practical effects.
Special effects are phenomenal. They're horrendous. They're horrific. There's a lot of special effects in it as well. There's a lot of monstrous, horrible things growing out of other things and all the rest. A lot of body horror.
It's an amazing movie. I have no doubt. I think people are like, people that have seen it, everyone likes it that season, and it's well regarded in the horror film kind of fan
community.
Community. But I do think it's going to be one of these films that you give it another few years and it's going to be rediscovered by something, and it is going to be a cult classic. It's a shame that they don't have the support to make more movies. They should be. I think if I had fucking as film studio, I'd be just like, here, go off and make whatever the fuck you want, because whatever they do, they've done a bunch of shorts and like movie trailers and they're fucking hilarious. Psycho Gorman is just it's basically fucking the Power Rangers as a horror movie, with all the baddies from the Power Rangers, and it's really, really funny. It's so charming. And like in this as well, what they seem to do really well, it's that you get to know characters extremely well because they use that trope of like in this, the sheriff in the void,
the heroic lawman kind of a thing.
But and then like it's, you just know the characters, but it's a good shortcut into things. But that would have been my number 2, and your number 4. My number 4 is It Follows.
Yes.
And you were asking about that the other day, and you were like, there's a load of movies. You were like, did we? And it's like, yes, we've seen all these movies. But It Follows. It was a weird. At the time, people were saying it was like an allegory for sexually transmitted diseases, where. Jesus, I can't remember how it get started, kind of like with it, but it's similar to say Smile or The Ring, but it's like you getting followed by you don't see the face. It's really, it's like this girl, she's been followed because she ends up sleeping with this guy, and that's how the curse is spread. It's through sexual intercourse, and she's been followed. She sees it in people that looks like people that she knows, but you just get this ominous feeling that it's trying to kill you, and it kind of builds up and builds up and builds up and builds up throughout the whole thing. So it's her trying to escape the curse without kind of, because she's like, I don't want to just pass it on to someone else. So it's kind of like The Ring in the way where it's like she's looking into it and trying to find out the history to it and where it's come, but it doesn't get to that point where it's like, oh, it's this ancient demon his name is Fred, and this is how you defeat him.
Well, essentially, I think it's probably the demon is probably AIDS fucking inspired, obviously enough. It would be that age group where like all of us who grew up sort of as children in the 80s, you are terrified. There's all these ads about don't have sex because you will die of AIDS.
And like biblical fucking kind of writing and stuff on it where you're just like, oh, it's AIDS.
Fucking, I think everyone of our generation are absolutely fucking petrified of unprotected sex.
You're like a 4-year-old seeing these and being told of it, because people don't talk about it. Well, unless you're around kind of for when there was, like, it was a fucking panic where it was like, oh, like I used to be told by mother, I think it was like my sister used to work in a jewellery store, and the counter was like say up as far as where I could rest my chin at the time. It'd be 4 or 5 or whatever it was. I'd go and get it, and the woman who owned the store used to get your chin off, you might get AIDS from having, and there's this thing, people,
it was like COVID times a million.
And it was like people wouldn't, because people knew how it was transmitted, but people were like, oh, you could maybe get, if you drank from a bottle, kind of like,
people didn't know. Like it was a terrifying disease at the time. Like, I mean, the whole big thing with Princess Diana was she was the first sort of like celebrity to go and sit and hold someone's hand with AIDS, kind of a thing, and this is a big deal at the time.
There was an awful lot of ignorance, and I think willing ignorance, kind of like things not shared with the public about it, because for an average person, like you were told that it was like this highly infectious thing. There was numerous you could catch by shaking hands with someone. Sitting
on a toilet seat, whatever. Everyone was terrified of fucking everything.
It's when people look back at it now, they try and make it, they were, and it's like they were. It was like, it was really proper panic, and it was against the homosexual community.
Of course,
It was like trying to villainise people because like at the time it was actually illegal to be gay in Ireland and England with it. So it was like this thing was like, and they're trying to make it out, it was like this biblical fucking plague.
That's it, but It Follows would be sort of, I think, coming from the psyche of someone who grew up with all that, I would think.
Yeah, but as well, it's also that thing, it's the unknown, because you don't know why has she why is she having this done to her? Like, I mean, how you can't beat this thing because it could be anyone. You don't know anything about it. They try numerous ways to kind of kill it, but it's so freaky. The soundtrack is excellent to it. The soundtrack is amazing to it. But yeah, there's a sequel coming out 15 years later,
Jesus.
nearly 10 years later, which hopefully will be just as good. But yeah, that's my number 4.
My number 4, my number 3, sorry, we've already spoken about, was Cabin in the Woods, so I'll move on to my number 2, shall I?
Yeah.
My number 2 is Terrifier.
Yeah, I was going to put Terrifier in it, but I thought, being honest, the first one I don't think is really good. Yeah.
Well, I like it because they've managed to immediately create this character.
Well, he was in a film before.
It's Jason. Yeah. It's this, it's this horror character that kids, well, maybe not kids, teenagers can dress up for Halloween as kind of a thing, and it's a simple thing. It's just a black and white clown with these horrendous teeth and all the rest, and he's almost kind of like this bumbling sort of Charlie Chaplin-esque kind of silent comedy. And then he just absolutely horrifically kills
horrific violence,
these victims.
and it's very grim, dark violence as well. It's the only way not that like most violence isn't grim, but it's very shot dark. Blood is like that. It's just real dirty. There's and like the way he kills people, it's painful.
Yes,
like fucking excruciating.
It's not like an immediate stabbing you're dead. It's like fucking torture kind of
and
thing.
He just takes immense pleasure in, and no one really knows what he is. Like, is he a demon?
Is he just some lunatic? Yeah, you don't actually know if he's human or if he's supernatural kind of thing, Now, in the second one, he's very much supernatural because he comes back from the fucking dead, and it finishes with his head being given birth by like one of the girls from the first movie. Yeah, it did. It went kind of a little bit nuts.
The second one is amazing. I love the second one. Like, I love the Terrifier franchise, but I just don't think the first one is.
The first one was only finding its feet, really. I think it was just establishing the character, and it was like, that was low budget as well. Wasn't it?
But they're all low budget. Like, they're funded and they're done by like Damien Leone. Like, he does that, not everything. Like, obviously, but like, he's the brains behind it all, and the push behind it.
But that's like, for a first film, like, it came out more or less fully formed. I know there was a lot of development done in the second one. But
Art the Clown showed up in like, it was like I can't fucking think of the name of it. What was like an anthology. Before as well with Damien and Leone in it, so he had like the makings of Art.
He probably had the idea for a while.
Yeah, but you do get the feeling with Terrifier. Even when we saw it the first time, it was like, this is like, it's a throwback to the 80s, but way more violent.
Yeah.
Whereas nearly an attempt to create an iconic character, and he did.
Yeah.
Like, Art the Clown is iconic. Like, 2 cements like 2 is such a fucking great movie.
Yeah.
I love part 2. I can't wait to see part 3.
The humour gets ramped up, the gore gets ramped up, this terror gets ramped up. It's just, it is.
The mythology behind it as well. It's like the guy who plays Art the Clown is fantastic in it. He's going to be up there with he is up there with Freddy and Jason, I think.
Absolutely, I do think. Yeah. But that's why it'll be my number 2, is because I do think it has created a horror icon.
But my number 3. And then we're kind of done with our top 10s. Is the Evil Dead remake. Well, it's not even a remake. I suppose it's kind of Evil Dead Part 4.
Yeah.
They called it Evil Dead. They threw people off by like, people told it, it's going to be a remake because it's in the cabin, and it's not. It was oh my god, he just directed Aliens Romulus. His brain, Fede Alvarez.
Oh yes, I'm gone shit for naming actors lately.
It's just like, a fucking debut, and like, what a great, because everyone said this is going to be shit, they're going to fucking kill the franchise, they're going to do it, and there's a lot of people, I think probably younger people, that I could see this being their favourite out of the franchise. It's more brutal than anything Sam Raimi ever did. It's fucking horrific. The acting is great in it. It's a totally different story, completely and utterly different story, where it's like, I think the canon is after establishing that it's a different Necronomicon. Like, the Necronomicon in the first 3 is one Necronomicon, that there's like different Necronomicons scattered around the world, and the one in Evil Dead Rise is another different Necronomicon. So you know,
that 15 times in a row.
Well, it's just brilliant. Like, there's the scene with the tongue and the knife, and there's there's just mental fucking shit in it that never would have done. The final girl in it, who's like the version of Ash, is amazing in it as well. And it just started off a whole good mythology where it's like, I was really looking forward to seeing that if there was going to be a sequel to it. Then Evil Dead Rise kind of is not related to it. At least I don't think so. Like, there's talk that the next film might try and bring all three kind of aspects of it together. Like, I mean, there's nothing wrong with if they kind of try and do like what the original plan with Halloween was going to be, where it's like just different stories set in the Evil Dead universe around things. But I think it'd be nice to see some of these people coming back. Like, obviously Ash, but I don't think Bruce Campbell is ever going to
reprise that particular role in the cinema. Done the series.
Now, he showed up at the end of the Evil Dead, like, just go groovy. And that was,
that's all you need from.
But I think that was all the more people just knew, all right, it's in the same universe. It's in the same thing, where it's not like a remake. And that kind of made people happy with it. But yeah, I thought probably one of the best remakes. Well, it's not a remake, but
in addition to an original.
And it's the Evil Dead. There's no bad things in the Evil Dead series. I don't know how they managed to do it, because everyone thought Evil Dead Rise was going to be shit as well, because it was straight to HBO Max. So it's like, oh, it's going to be straight to, and it's like, oh no, it's fucking great. The TV series is fantastic. Cancelled way too soon,
unfortunately.
But that's our top 10. So I suppose honourable mentions. Do you want to?
Yeah. So when we spoke about The Conjuring, The Purge is an honourable mention for me, because that, like, every now and again I just sit there thinking, do you know what?
Like to kill
it would be a fucking good idea, actually. If you could be just given free rein just to kill anyone that annoyed you or fucking pissed you off or anything like that, wouldn't it help society out a lot? But yeah, that's that. Get Out, I suppose, is another honourable mention.
Get Out was
I didn't particularly like it, but I get that it's a very important film as such.
Oh, and Get Out. Oh no, I was thinking of a different thing. You're Next, I was thinking of.
Am I thinking of the right one? Get Out was what's his face?
Jordan Peele.
Jordan Peele, and your man got invited up to this height. That's it. Yeah, that's the one that I
don't particularly like it.
No, I didn't like it, but I appreciated the message, and it was like, again, it's like humans are the scariest
I didn't like monsters. Us or US at all. I thought that was terrible. I like Nope.
Yeah.
But I don't think I'd ever look at it again at the same point.
This is it. This is why it's an honourable mention. The Babysitter we spoke about as well.
Babysitter was brilliant.
And along those lines, the sort of the comedy ones, Tucker and Dale versus Evil, is not really hard, but it is.
Yeah, I don't like that. I know a lot of people really like it. I don't know, there was something about it. I just
like the whole idea of these bumbling fucking hillbillies that were just they were seen as like these backwoods killers because they're just bumbling around and these kids were killing themselves on accident. I
think that's the thing where it's like the joke overstays itself, where it's funny for 5 minutes, but as a 90-minute movie, it's just like,
gets a bit worn out. Deckgasm was another one that I
forgot about that.
Yeah, that was kind of decent.
Is that an Australian movie or is it New Zealand movie?
It's that kind of.
There's the second one of that coming out soon as well.
Then there's few. I mean, we didn't mention it because it's just I suppose I have in my head I have this kind of like subgenre of like kids in films, in horror films. So there's it. There's Annabelle, The Hole in the Ground, which was an
Irish movie. Cronin. He's doing something big at the moment. A new film.
But yeah, basically it's this sinkhole that basically.
He did the new Evil Dead. He did Evil Dead Rise.
All right, there you go. Then other mentions which are not quite, they're not up there, but they're good enough. I suppose The Ritual, which was
very good.
That was
I think that's a Netflix own movie.
And that was sort of, I think the pacing of that was very sort of edgy or kind of a thing.
It's based on a book.
Then other ones, I suppose, Creep, which was your man out of
The League.
Thank you.
Mark Duplass.
Yes, that's him. And that turned into quite a decent film, wasn't it?
I said Creep 2 was very good. Yeah. They were meant to do it as a trilogy. I think they're doing a TV series of it now.
Yeah.
Where it's like Creep Stories or something like that. It's coming out very soon. But the Creep things are done. The first one I didn't really like at all. It's a bit artsy. The second one was very good. Because you know what he is.
The setup is, exactly, And then the likes of Fright Night, Climax, and Split, kind of a horror, kind of a psychological. I just thought that was a unusual one.
But anyway, James McAvoy's very good.
Excellent in it.
But yeah, my ones, I'd say ones that you haven't mentioned. Well, like I said about Blackcoat's daughter, that I really liked it. Again, nothing really happens in that. He takes like a ghost story really and does something different. It's his directorial style. Osgood Perkins, I just really like it. There's something just off about everything that he does. Bone Tomahawk, which is cowboy. It's got fucking Kurt Russell in it as well. That's if you're into kind of like alien mythology in the West, you kind of there's
a very
like
specific subgenre.
The tall whites and stuff and cannibalistic giants and stuff. It's that. It's a Western with that in it. It takes a turn. Raw, it's a French movie. I loved that.
I seem to remember not liking
No,
that
you didn't
show.
like it at all. We were doing different podcasts at the time and we were doing it with my nephew as well, and he didn't like it either. He were just got I thought it was brilliant.
Yeah.
I really, really liked it. It's a cannibal movie about a girl who was like a vegan and gets a taste of meat and turns into a fucking cannibal, basically. Doctor Sleep, I thought was brilliant. I used to hate The Shining, and I think Doctor Sleep was one of the reasons we went back and looked at The Shining, and then kind of went, actually, I quite like it. It's not Stephen King's book, but it's good, I think. But Doctor Sleep is a brilliant fucking film. It tanked at the box office. I do think it's going to be another one of these in about 10 years. People are going to start rewatching it and going like, wow, this is brilliant, because the villains in it, the vampires in it, they're like really evil. And I hadn't seen that in a horror movie in a long time, where because people in horror movies went into this thing kind of like, everyone is shades of grey, but like they're fucking just bad. They're like, they prey on children. They're evil monsters. Like Happy Death Day. There's two very funny things. A House That Jack Built. Matt Dillon. He's one of my favourite. It's basically Henry portrait of a serial killer done by Lars von Trier. It's fucking mental. It's hyper violent as well, because I think Matt Dillon is so likeable. Yeah. Him as this horrible, horrible serial killer going around, and he kills people in different ways. He's just fucking. But the ending to it turns into Dante's Inferno. So a lot of people at the time were like, "What the fuck?" Yeah. It was Sinister. I think we forgot the two Sinister movies are really good. Yeah. As Above, So Below.
Yeah, I had that on my list, and then I was kind of like, I have too many on my list.
It's more like an action movie. I think it's like it could have been an Indiana Jones story thing. I suppose, into hell.
Talisman is kind of a thing,
Lights Out, I think a lot of people forget about that. It kind of came out and went with because Fede Alvarez's follow-up came out at the same time, which was, oh God, I can't think of, but it's fucking oh my God! But it had a similar sound and name to it. It's like with the blind man in it.
No, it's not coming to me.
But I think that the attention went on that, and people didn't pay attention to Lights Out, which is a great way. It's very 80s movie about these young one and her. I think it was her younger brother or something like that. That's saying that there is something in the dark so it's a demon in the dark. So they have to stay in the light to try and get away from it. And it has
Blink was something a bit like that, wasn't it, as well?
Blink? I don't remember.
Or Don't Blink.
Don't Breathe. Sorry, that's what the fucking was the Fede Alvarez one. But they came out at around the same time, and I think people, because the way the trailers are done, it was kind of done in a similar kind of way. But yeah, that's
quite a list we have there.
That's quite the list, and it's just fucking, because I don't want to do another list next. We might do for Halloween week something different kind of with it. But like the 2020s turned out to be great so far. Like Late Night with the Devil is amazing. Like I was saying, Psycho Goreman. But there's just a fucking ton of great horror movies halfway through. Not even halfway through.
And there's a lot of them, I suppose, making use of sort of it's not new technology, but a new way of filmmaking, where it's like things are done over Zoom calls and that kind of stuff.
Oh, that film was brilliant.
Host, was it?
The Host is amazing.
That was just in 2020, so it didn't quite make my list, you see, unfortunately. It's just a year out. But
Host is brilliant, and it plays up with it's the length of a Zoom call that you could, for a video Zoom call, a free video Zoom call. It's done brilliant. It's the Evil Dead.
Yeah.
Basically, you don't think it's going to be. You think it's going to be Blair Witch, but it's fucking not.
Yeah. And it is, like, I mean, I think it was great because so many people were sort of, that was their only way of communication during COVID.
Yeah.
So everyone was very familiar with the whole thing. And it was just like, you're kind of watching it going, Jesus Christ, that could happen in my next meeting.
There's that movie, I can't think of the name, but it's got it's kind of like The Evil Dead, but like on a lower budget, where it's a YouTuber that goes off.
Exploring a haunted house.
Yeah,
It's like streaming for likes.
Yeah, and it's like there's demons in the house, and it's just really, really, really funny. I can never think of the name of it.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. There's sort of all of these are starting to emerge now with the sort of like I said, it's not new technology, but it's just a new way of sort of showing films.
There's just such a mixture of stuff. I think the 2010's opened up a lot
I think
for
it's going to
people,
be
and they're
quite
really going
inventive,
into
I
it.
think,
So there's a
in
lot.
horror.
You got the different genres, I think, are coming up now, where you got like the retro ones that are throwback, and people trying to copy John Carpenter to a certain degree. And then there's the slashers are still there; they're not going anywhere, and they have the whole haunted house. There's like every type of because horror is probably bigger than it's ever been.
Yeah, so
which is great.
Yeah, whatever your pleasure.
Yeah, and Shudder as well. Like Shudder, I think no one thought that it'd do well. Another streaming service just for horror, and it was like hardly any horror movies on it when it started off.
Yeah,
Still going, and it's great. They're making their own horror movies, and they're making their own good horror movies. But yeah, look, if you made it this far, we won't keep you any
Congratulations!
longer.
Oh my God, yes, it's been a long time.
There's not going to be any more fucking lists for a long time, if ever again. But look, thank you very much for listening, and until next week. We'll be doing our Watch Mojo top 10 fucking